Okay, most likely you are done with your little cheat sheets at the top to help you.
Yeah.
I need my decimal trick also. So if you have all of these up there on the top, can you help me? What do I do when I go from meters to centimeters? You're really close. Multiply by 100. Because, now listen, there are more centimeters than there are meters. So you just have to memorize the trick for this, okay? If I go from meters to millimeters, there's a whole lot more millimeters, aren't there? So I'm going to multiply by 1,000. Is that what you wrote? Did you get it written correctly? Do you remember from yesterday?
Yeah.
You have
Okay.
to get to the second pound.
Right, and this is 10 to the third. Now millimeters to meters, what do I do?
Divide.
Divide, because we're going from tiny, 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 a whole bunch, to a large unit. And centimeters to meters, what am I going to do? Right, okay. Now, I might have to move that around on my screen. So let's see if I can group it all together so I can move it around here in a minute. Let's see. You want me to see if it moves? Oh, good. Okay. So let's do a few of these, all right? Now, something I noticed right away. These are all centimeters. And then if I scroll down, they are all what? Millimeters. So we're just going to do a few. And I'm going to pick out the ones that are going to help you the most on your exit ticket. So I want you to circle D and E and F. Those are the ones we're going to do. So let's talk about these. If I'm going from, and you remember on the video I did a little bit of highlighting, but I use a pencil.
Yeah.
Centimeters to meters. I just have to find that up here. What am I going to do?
Change.
Centimeters to meters. What do I do?
Divided by the 100.
Divide by 10 to the second, which is 100. So go ahead and write that on the line where we're going to make the problem. Quickly. You have to skip down to D and write it on that line. Okay, now I simply just write my 80 here. Where did I get the 80?
From the problem.
From the problem. Good. And then 80 is a little tricky. Why do you think it's a little tricky?
Because it's an equal number.
Because it ends in a what?
0.
And those can be tricky for us with decimals. So where is my decimal on 80?
At the very end.
At the very, very end. So how many place values?
2.
2. So my decimal ends up in front of the 8. Boys and girls, how do I say that answer? 8/10. Now, you notice I'm doing my decimal hop over here. Why do you think I'm doing the decimal hop over here instead of in the problem?
So we have some room.
There's a little more room. Okay, good job. So let's take a look at the next one. Meters to centimeters. Meters to centimeters. Multiply by 100, which is 10 to the second, right? Okay, now this number has a decimal in it. 9 2/10. And if I'm multiplying, which way does my decimal move? To the right, how many?
2.
Good. What do I have to fill in with?
Fill it in with the 0.
Fill it in with a 0. So the answer to 9 2/10 meters is what?
920.
920 millimeters or centimeters?
Centimeters.
Centimeters, very good. Okay, let's take a look at F.
4 centimeters.
I think we better move it on down. What do you think? so I'm going to go from centimeters to meters. Centimeters to meters. What am I going to do? Divide by 100 or 10 to the second power. Are you getting this? I know. It's a little bit easier than it kind of looks when you look at the paper. All right, so my number I start with is what? 4. And where's my decimal in the number 4?
At the very end.
At the end. How many place values?
2.
What do I fill in with?
A 0.
A 0, and then what I need in the front.
A 0.
Good. How do I say that number, Sadie? 2 decimal place values is what? 400s is correct. All right, fist to 5. Tell me how you're doing. 5 meaning you understand it. 0 meaning you are completely lost and you might need to go in the hall and watch the video from yesterday. Okay, we can do this. Let's keep going. So I've got some I'm going to practice down here. Let's see which ones. I know I want to do F again. I want to do B. And I want to do A. So circle A, B, and F. Okay. 3 millimeters, or 3 meters to millimeters. Where's that? What am I going to do?
10.
Multiply by, and what number is that? 10 to the
1,000.
1,000. So multiply by 1,000. So I've got a 3 from my problem. How many place values?
3.
3. Now, where does your decimal start?
At the very end.
So I'm going to have to fill in with zeros I already know. 1, 2, 3. How many zeros?
3.
3. So the answer is
3,000.
3,000. Now, does anyone remember the advice I gave you last week about the comma?
No. You count 3.
No, well, if I were you, just so you don't get confused between the comma and the decimal, make sure you don't write the comma until you write the answer. Let's say, for instance, if I were going to figure out 1,020 millimeters, I probably wouldn't write the comma over here. I would just put the decimal so I could do my problem. By the way, what is millimeters to meters?
Multiplication?
No, division.
Division, so 1, 2, 3. Just so you could see why I don't want the comma there, because guess what's going to end up in the exact same place as the comma? The decimal. So it might be a little confusing. Let's look at B. Meters to
Millimeters.
millimeters.
So we're multiplying.
We're multiplying again. And 1 and 2/10 is our number. How many place values?
3.
3. 1, 2, 3. How many zeros do I have to fill in?
2.
2. So now, is it okay to put my comma in the number? Does that make sense? 1 and 2/10, so just a little bit more than 1, not even 1.5, times 1,000 would be 1,000 and a little bit more. 1 times 1,000 would be 1,000. So 1 and 2/10 equals 1,200. That makes sense. Okay, let's go down to F.
Yeah, yesterday this was not making any sense.
Is it making more sense today?
A little bit.
You know why I think that might have happened? It's because it's very hard for me to teach to an empty classroom. And I'm sure I went too fast.
Oh no, my brain fell asleep like
Oh no, so he was zoning out.
no,
Yeah.
my brain I was still like half asleep.
Okay, so let's take a look at F. 4 millimeters to meters. So Look at my sheet. Millimeters to meters. What am I going to do?
Divide.
Divide by
10.
10 to the third. So start with the number 4. And where's my decimal?
After the
Okay,
4.
and how many place values?
3.
How many zeros do I fill in with?
3.
Well, 3 altogether, right?
Yeah.
How many after the decimal?
2.
2. So the answer, Jay, you want to tell me the answer? 4 what?
4,000.
Awesome, 4 thousandths. Now here's what I want you to think about. G on both of these is asking a question, okay? The first one says, which ones were converted from larger units to smaller units? Well, what's the largest unit we're working with here? Meters. So all I have to do is find all of them that start with meters, and those are the ones that are converting from large to small. So put an L for large. And A, B, and what?
F.
You're close.
C.
Why are you guessing?
E.
If they start with meters, then they start from larger to smaller.
Looks like late.
Now, what if I'm doing smaller to larger?
That makes 8.
Okay, can we go on with this, please?
Yeah.
All right, I want to give you time to do your exit ticket. So if I'm going from smaller to larger, what will I start with up here in my problem? The smallest one. Which one's the smallest unit of measurement?
Milliliters.
Millimeters. Okay, so which ones start with millimeters?
F.
F, D, C. Why would my sister think that I could text message at 9:40 in the morning?
She probably thinks
Maybe so. Maybe she thinks I'm still at home. Okay, on the back, let's do this. This is something I want you to try on your own, and then we're going to check them. So turn it over to the back. Now, it looks to me like they're all mixed up. Correct?
yes.
Okay, so what am I going to need to put on the other side?
That.
Copy. Isn't technology a wonderful thing?
Yeah.
There it is.
Make what do you want to be?
Yeah, that's right. Okay. So what I want you to do now, boys and girls, is I want you to take a look at your measurements. So for instance, we have meters to millimeters. Find that up here, decide what operation you need, and do these. However, they're all mixed up. Meters, millimeters, centimeters, okay? So be very careful. When you're finished, we'll check them. All right, Jay, tell me what I'm going to do when I go from centimeters to meters. Centimeters to meters. What am I going to do?
Wait, me or him?
Oh, it was Julian. I'm sorry, Julian.
Um,
Imagine that I mixed you two up.
you're gonna multiply by 1,000.
Centimeters to meters. Are you on B?
Oh. Centimeters. You're gonna divide by 100.
Divide by 10 to the second. So if I divide 8 by 10 to the second, what do I get? What's my answer, Julie?
800.
800ths is correct. Okay, next one. Maite, would you help us on C, please? What am I going to do? Millimeters to meters.
Divide 10 to the 3rd
Good. So I started with 42. All right, let's take a look at that. So how many place values?
power. 3.
1, 2, 3.
7,
Good. So what's my answer, Maite? How do I say that?
42,000.
Very good. 42 thousandths. Raise your hand if you got that one right.
Wait, which one?
That's probably the trickiest one you have to do.
Oh.
Okay, let's take a look at D. Who's going to help me with that? Blair. All right, so I'm going from meters to millimeters.
So, you're right.
Tell me what I'm going to do. Multiply.
Times.
Multiply.
To the 3rd power.
Multiply by 10 to the 3rd. Now I'm going to write 500ths and multiply by 10 to the 3rd.
Power.
How many place values?
3.
3. So I'm going to end up with 0050. 0050. What number is that?
50.
50.
You don't need your.
I don't need the zeros in front. Wonder why the eraser isn't working.
The glitch.
It's a glitch. Pen works. Now it's working. Okay, last one. And then I'm going to have you do your exit ticket. Fernando. I'm going from meters to centimeters. Multiply or divide?
Divide.
Meters.
Oh, multiply.
You got to double check. Multiply by what?
By 10 to the 2 power.
Do we say 10 to the 2 power?
Second.
Multiply by 10 to the 2nd. Okay, so how many place values will I move? 2. So I'm going to end up with decimal 2 for my answer. What else do I need, boys and girls? What else do I need? The 0 in front, what's that number? 2 tenths.